Welcome to Wonderdreamwander, a Walt Disney World podcast.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Ron.
Grab your ears, grab your magic bands, and buckle up because today we're embarking on the most magical journey on Earth.
Whether you're a lifelong Disney buff, a total noob, a childless millennial like we are, or a family, we will cover the best ins and outs at Walt Disney World.
So with a little bit of pixie dust, we're off to episode 3.
Episode 3, On and Off Property Hotels. Today we are going to discuss the price points and amenities of on-property hotels, the best nearby off-property hotels, and how to find nearby properties on Hotwire and Priceline and discounted websites.
A lot of what goes into pricing for Walt Disney World hotels is luxury, amenity, convenience, and proximity to parks, and transportation to parks. The more expensive hotels tend to be more luxurious and high-end, but also much closer to the parks. They also tend to have multiple modes of transportation to the parks, making it easier to get where you need with little to no wait.
Before we dive into hotels, I wanted to discuss the Disney Magic Band system. Magic Bands are electronic bracelets that hold your tickets so you don't have to carry or use your phone to scan into the parks, reservations, or photo passes. The newest versions can be scanned at various locations throughout the parks to trigger special effects.
But what does this have to do with hotels?
Great question, Amanda. Your Magic Bands can be programmed to unlock your hotel room door, but this is only available with on-property hotels. You can check in and get your room number right through your My Disney Experience app and never once have to go to the front desk, and you never need a physical room key.
Yeah, my family has a timeshare off-property, and I tried to use the Magic Band after getting it, like a few weeks after my trip with Ron, and no dice. But when you stay on property, you do get pretty convenient added bonus. You can add a credit card to your Magic Band and program a PIN to make purchases on property and in the parks. Your purchases get billed to your hotel statement.
In short, if you're staying on property, a Magic Band saves you from having to carry tickets, PhotoPass cards, credit cards, and hotel room keys.
And the less you carry, the easier you go through security.
If you're visiting with a family, the bands make it so much easier to keep track of all of these things. They can also easily be found by staff if lost on a ride or throughout the parks.
All right, let's get back on track with hotels. Much like ticket prices, the Disney Resort hotel prices fluctuate depending on room type and type of year. Ron and I haven't stayed in all of them yet, but we have stayed in a variety of price points and can comment a bit on their differences. Shout out to the Herbie the Love Bug Room!
I love the Herbie the Love Bug Room. That is at one of the All-Star movies. And we'll talk a bit about that later. I tend to favor somewhere in between mid-price and cheapest. I go based off of convenience and transportation as well as best bang for my buck. But I also visit on my own a lot, which means I'm incurring the hotel cost entirely on my own.
There are currently 21 on-property Walt Disney World hotels. We'll break them down by value, moderate, and deluxe categories. Plus, we'll cover villas, which are multi-room apartment-style offerings, and deluxe hotels designed for families or groups to stay together in their own spaces.
First off, all hotels have themed pools and fun activities for families and kids, but you'll find more interesting and frequent offerings at higher-priced hotels. Let's start with the value hotels. The most inexpensive option is the campsites at Disney's Fort Wilderness. You can expect this to be a true camping experience, if that's your thing. So there are little to no amenities. However, the Fort Wilderness is a moderate hotel with a lovely property. You gain some benefits of easily visiting that property and utilizing their transportation while at the campsites. Next up are the All-Star Resorts. There are 3 of them: sports, music, and movies, as we just mentioned. Movies tends to be the most expensive of the 3 because it's very desirable and there are lots of great photo opportunities on property, though they are usually very similarly priced. There are no on-property restaurants here aside from the general food court and pool bar. The only transportation to the parks are buses from these resorts, which tend to be very crowded and busy, as you can imagine, it being the lowest priced true hotel experience. It often causes you to wait for the next bus if the first one is filled up, which can be a wait of about 20 minutes or so for the next bus to arrive. The plus side is that the properties offer lots of fun photo opportunities with statues and figures throughout, and the all-star resorts are usually priced between $115 to $135 per room per night.
Where you are, the bus stop is further away.
Yes.
Because I remember for all-star resorts, the bus stop is literally the last.
Yeah. In the beginning of the day, it's not so bad, but at the end of the night when you're exhausted, it is the farthest walk to get to your bus, and you're just like, oh, I have to walk that far to get to my bus and then possibly wait 2 or 3 buses to get back to my hotel. It's a lot.
It can be brutal. It can be brutal.
100%. I've been there many times.
Next up, from All Stars is Pop Century. Pop Century pricing is usually between $182 to $300 per room per night. Pop Century is a great value choice for many because they offer bus transportation and they're also on the Skyliner route. The Skyliner.
I love the Skyliner.
We have a fan. The Skyliner is a constantly running airlift that travels to several hotels, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot. It allows wheelchairs and strollers on, and it's usually low weight and fast option. This mode of transportation not only efficiently gets you to and from the parks, but it also allows for easier park hopping and going back to your hotel for breaks. Similarly to All Stars, only a food court and pool bar are available here. I haven't actually been on the Skyliner yet, but we know Ron loves it. But I have stood below them and then just watched them just swoosh by as I'm slowly walking to Hollywood Studios.
I love the Skyliner so much that even if I'm not staying at a Skyliner hotel, I try to make it a point to ride the Skyliner at least once every trip, even if it means just park hopping between Hollywood Studios and Epcot. I love riding the Skyliner, and I find it so convenient. But speaking of the Skyliner, the Last Value Resort shares a Skyliner with Pop Century, as the Skyliner is situated between the two resorts, and the two properties share the same Skyliner stop. This is Art of Animation. If you haven't previously heard, a lot of the Disney hotels have their own signature scents pumped into the atmosphere. The other lower end hotels do not have a scent, but Art of Animation does. This is kind of indicative that it is the highest of the value resorts, leaning into a more moderate level. At Art of Animation, they have the famous Little Mermaid themed rooms, which are often really sought after. Art of Animation also offers Lion King, Cars, and Finding Nemo themed family suites. Pricing for Art of Animation ranges from $200 to $500 per night typically, but family suites, which often include 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, living room, and kitchen spaces, range from $500 to $900 a night.
The lowest price is the Coronado Springs Resort. This is a beautiful property with several restaurants and a very impressive pool area. It is frequently used as a meeting space for businesses. While this certainly feels like a step up from the Valley Resorts, it currently only offers bus transportation to the parks. Last year, pricing ranged from $260 to $532 per night, though they do have tower suites, casitas, 1-bedroom king suites, and executive suites. If this is something you're looking for, the pricing varies wildly. You can expect to spend as low as $1,000 to nearly $4,000 per night, depending on the room, view, and date range.
From what I hear, Coronado Springs is a very popular hotel for events and meetings, and they have a lot of corporate get-together type events there. So it's a beautiful hotel, but the rooms, I have stayed there once. The rooms do not have very good insulation. I could hear everything from the room next door. However, it did not severely negatively impact my stay. It was a really, really beautiful property, and I was glad to have the experience to stay there. But I was really, really bummed that the only transportation was buses. I did wish that it had a Skyliner stop on it or something that made it a little bit more convenient for the price point.
Mm-hmm.
The next hotel in our moderate list is Caribbean Beach Resort. This is a Skyliner route hotel. While this is not my favorite hotel to stay in, as I don't feel there is anything particularly special about the property, I will say its access to the Skyliner and proximity to other hotels like the Riviera are appealing if you should be seeking some more upscale dining options. The most fun things about this property is a beautifully themed pool and a really fun pirate-themed room. The pricing for this property ranges usually from $268 to $582 per night.
Next up is the cabins at Fort Wilderness. These properties are exactly as they sound. They are the cabins in the woods that make you feel like you're in the wilderness away from it all. Located in a cypress forest, you can look out of your floor-to-ceiling windows and feel transported. Of course, the cabins are also fully equipped with kitchens and provide you to access to all of the Fort Wilderness properties, restaurants, and pools. Additionally, you are already next to the very popular Hoop-Dee-Doo musical Revue, a dinner theater experience that treats you to a Western show and feast for additional cost, of course. The cabins range from $466 to $986 per night. You can also connect to the transportation center via ferry boat, which allows you access to the monorail and other hotels and Epcot.
Amanda's favorite. Last on the moderate list is Port Orleans Resort. But it's important to note that it is divided into two separate sections, the Riverside and the French Quarter. The overall vibe of the French Quarter is themed off of Mardi Gras, and you can expect a much more lively and decorative themed atmosphere. The Riverside is just as it sounds, a peaceful waterside spot that is much more quiet and nature focused. You can access the parks by bus from this property, but you can access Disney Springs by water taxi here. Both areas range in price from $289 to $548 per night, depending on view and room type. However, the Riverside boasts the coveted Royal Guest Room. Here you will find interactive light-up headboards, elaborate designed and themed furniture, including an Aladdin magic carpet rug, regal tufted chairs, a princess portrait wall, and a magic lamp gilded faucet. Describing it doesn't sound like much, but it really, truly is a magical experience to stay in one of these rooms. These rooms are only slightly higher priced, ranging from $353 to $585 per night, which in my opinion is well worth the upgrade if you are looking at rooms at this property.
The French Quarter Hotel has always been goals. Oh my gosh. I haven't been yet, but goals, like my entire life.
Me too.
Okay, this brings us to the deluxe resort hotels. These hotels are sure to have top-tier restaurants, amenities, and have you basking in the lap of luxury. Several of these hotels also serve as Disney Vacation Club locations. The Disney Vacation Club, for those who don't know, is a sort of Disney timeshare. These rooms are family rooms, much like the ones we discussed in The Art of Animation. So pricing for these hotels will vary wildly depending on the room size, the type, and view you're hoping for. The first deluxe resort we will discuss is Saratoga Springs. And I'm pretty sure this is the hotel that we take to when we're headed to downtown Disney from like the parks and everything, because you can just stop here and then just walk to downtown Disney versus doing that a whole big loop all over again. You know, sometimes you just kind of don't want to deal with sitting in the bus the whole time, but you're in and out of downtown Disney super quick. This property offers studios, villas, and 3-bedroom grand villas. This is designed off of 1800s New York spa and horse racing retreats. Rooms are Victorian style and spacious, with villas containing kitchens and washer and dryers inside.
They also offer really fun treehouse villas with private decks and charcoal grills. Now, we definitely prefer to not have to do our own cooking and love to experience Disney's dining, so this particular hotel isn't quite for us, and we have never stayed here. But many families love these experiences, and it's a great way to offset the cost of a trip. Spend more on the hotel experience and less on dining. This property also has 2 pools, one with a 146-foot water slide. These pools also have kids slides, whirlpools, play areas, and geysers. If you're planning on having several leisure days where you relax at the hotel with the family, this is a perfect place to stay.
Park transportation from this property is bus only, so heads up. But you can get to Disney Springs by boat from here. Deluxe studios range from $475 to $921 per night, while one-bedroom villas range from $628 to $1,282 per night. Two-bedroom villas are $921 to $2,100. Treehouse villas are $1,152 to $2,231, and 3-bedroom villas are $1,973 to $3,635. This is based on the 2024 rates calendar, of course, and that is a lot of numbers for you, dear listener. Boy.
Yes. There are so many rates that I looked at in preparing this episode. It was insane, but it's important to note that depending on the dates that you go, and I will say this over and over, but depending on the dates that you go, the pricing can be upwards of $1,000 per night difference, depending on the room type that you want. And this is not just for this hotel, but for all hotels. So consider that when you are looking at pricing. If you think something is way out of your budget, but you want to go there and you want to stay there, you might want to try a different date if your dates are flexible, or if you can travel there a different date, it might be worth your while to change. So that's why we're including all of this numerical information, because it does vary between room type and date that you choose. Next on our list of the deluxe hotels is Disney's Old Key West Resort. These rooms are also villas featuring full amenities like kitchens and washer dryers. They, of course, have a pool. This one is styled like a sandcastle, mimicking a tradition of the Florida Keys. At the base of the sandcastle, there is a sauna. The pool also features a water slide and whirlpools, though admittedly a bit less impressive than the Saratoga property, in my opinion. Restaurants on property have a Caribbean feel, and you can hear Caribbean music playing throughout the property and on the buses. I hope you like Harry Belafonte. Thank you, Beetlejuice, for making his music so popular and recognizable to younger guests. Like Saratoga, yes, we rode this. We actually had to park hop from a park to a place that didn't have a bus, and the park told us to take the next bus to the nearest hotel and then take the bus from that hotel to Disney Springs, because there wasn't a direct bus from the parks to Disney Springs. And we ended up taking it to Old Key West, and the entire bus ride was all Harry Belafonte music. So I was pleased as punch, but I am super excited for a younger generation to appreciate that, like I do. Anywho, like Saratoga, Old Key West only has bus transportation to the parks, but you can get to Disney Springs by boat from here. Pricing depends on whether you book a deluxe 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom villa, but you can expect ranges between $474 to $3,221 per night.
Next brings us to both Beach Club and Boardwalk properties. Boardwalk is reminiscent of old Atlantic City, and my mom loves this property. It's so pretty. It's quaint and has traditional boardwalk with taffy-colored cottages, private gardens and courtyards, snacks and restaurant stops, and a Skyliner stop, making it easily accessible to Hollywood studios, and you know how I feel about Epcot. This property offers an excellent restaurant as well as several shopping locations. Of course, as with every property, there's also a themed pool. Moving on, Beach Club is New England cottage themed and shares a lot of amenities with Disney's yacht and beach resort. What's special about Beach Club is that it boasts a huge shipwreck water scene at the pool and hosts a 3-acre water wonderland for families to play in. They feature a lazy river, 3 whirlpool spas, and a tanning deck. A huge bonus to this property is the famous Beaches and Cream ice cream shop, which popularized the huge dessert, the kitchen sink. Pricing for these 2 properties are as follows. Beach Club villas are priced between $564 to $2,535 per night, while Boardwalk villas are valued at $620 to $1,494 per night. Both properties offer bus transportation to the parks and boat transportation to Epcot and Hollywood Studios.
We talked a bit about Fort Wilderness earlier, and while that is a moderate hotel, it is important to note that Boulder Ridge Villas and Copper Creek Villas on that same property are considered deluxe. Be mindful when you are booking. If you're wondering why a property appears higher priced than you would expect it to be, it might be that only deluxe rooms are available for it. That being said, I'm moving on to what is my biggest wish list hotel, Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. Animal Kingdom is my favorite park. I love seeing and engaging with the animals, so I'm absolutely aching to stay at this hotel. Animal Kingdom Lodge has free roaming animals like zebra, gazelles, giraffes right on property. You can see these animals from main common areas, or you can book a savannah room, which grants you up-close views of the animals from your own room, undisturbed. Resort and water view rooms range from $487 to $953 per night, while savannah rooms range from $956 to $1,568 per night. This hotel also offers 1 to 2 bedroom suites for $1,281 to $4,004 per night. Animal Kingdom Lodge only offers bus transportation, but they do offer a lot of other amenities. Their pool mimics a watering hole with a 0-depth entry point into an 11,000 square foot pool with a water slide, 2 whirlpool spas, and an animal observation site themed water playground with squirting Venus flytraps, a rope bridge, and water cannons. There are award-winning African and American themed restaurants on this property, as well as a wealth of stores for shopping. And totally unrelated fun fact, I once scored an absolutely incredible clutch hot wire deal to stay at this hotel, but because of COVID, this was one of the hotels that was not yet opened. And as a result, I got upgraded, and this was the trip I went on with Amanda. We were supposed to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that never happened, but we did end up staying at a higher value hotel, which we'll talk about later.
I know, we almost stayed there if it wasn't for that meddling COVID. Okay, we're officially down to the top 4 grades. La creme de la creme of Disney hotels. Let's start with the OGs. The Contemporary Resort and the Polynesian Resort are originals from Disney's inception. While Fort Wilderness was the third in our list to open from the originals, Contemporary and Polynesian remain the first 2 originals still standing. The Contemporary, visible from Magic Kingdom, is walking distance from Magic Kingdom, but also on the monorail route if you'd like to travel to the transportation center and monorail to Epcot, or if you have mobility issues or anything that you need extra help with. The ferry boats are also an option to get you to and from the transportation center and Magic Kingdom. The large A-frame building on the Contemporary, the construction of which consisted of prefabricated and completed rooms being slipped into slots in the building's frame with a giant crane, featured Tomorrowland's adjacent futuristic architecture, state-of-the-art amenities, watercraft attractions, several restaurants including a character dining experience, and high-end fireworks view dining. And, of course, the iconic monorail traveling directly through the building.
Amanda and I have stayed in this building by complete chance. We were scheduled to stay at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, which had not yet opened after COVID-19 closures, so we were upgraded to the Contemporary, and then upgraded again when we checked in to a Bay Lake view room. Our room had a balcony overlooking the Disney Springs hot air balloon. It was a very special experience we surely could never afford under regular circumstances. Rooms at this hotel range from $693 to $5,905 per night. We were very, very lucky to get this happenstance.
And it was very surreal checking in, because you just walk in and this is the hotel that you always see, from the monorail. And then I remember just checking in and I felt like I was in a David Lynchian dream as I walked into the lobby. Things already did kind of have that general COVID vibes, like things were limited and not running as it should. But the staff was so incredible and they were just so happy to have guests there. I can't wait to go back. And we definitely enjoyed a poolside day when we stayed there and we played on the water slides. Now, let's leave the Contemporary for a moment as we travel to the exotic experience of the Polynesian Hotel. One of the immediate major draws of this property, aside from its amazing scents, restaurants, and ambiance, is that you can watch the Magic Kingdom fireworks right from the property from its sandy beaches. This hotel boasts rooms with park views, water views, and villas that mimic dream vacation over water bungalows from Fiji, also goals. Staying at the Polynesian will run you between $691 to a whopping $5,820, depending on the dates, room type, and party size. Major goals, but it'll take Veronica, myself, and maybe a couple hundred friends.
We will have to sell feet on the internet for a long time. We now move on to what has been historically the top tier hotel of them all, in my opinion, Disney's Grand Floridian. This is not only a top vacation destination, but also a huge wedding choice for on-property weddings. This property truly has it all and is the absolute epitome of regal as far as theme park resorts go. It is unparalleled. There are a wealth of restaurants, bars, and lounges, and shopping options here, not to mention the seasonal special offerings. For example, during the holidays, they boast the largest real gingerbread house, like they make it out of actual gingerbread. People come from all over the world to see, smell, and purchase gingerbread from the chefs that created the annual wonder. Even if you are not visiting during the holidays, the Grand Floridian is an incredibly special experience. Just for frame of reference, if it's raining out, staff are waiting at every entrance with towels to welcome guests in and help dry them off. I have never seen anything like it.
Have you ever had one of the gingerbread pieces?
I have not. I've seen it, I've smelt it, but I've never eaten it.
And they frown upon you just taking a bite out of it, just as a heads up. In case you didn't.
I've never gotten close enough.
This property also hosts Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique Experience, which is the only Makerville location outside of Magic Kingdom. It is also walking distance from the Magic Kingdom, but you have the option to take the monorail or boat if mobility impedes you. Additionally, monorail or boat can take you to the transportation center where you can transfer to Epcot. Transportation from this property is one of the easiest of all the hotels. Pricing here typically ranges between $824 to $5,808 per night.
The final hotel in our deluxe list is the last hotel built, Disney's Riviera Resort. This stunning new property is modeled from European design. It is on the Skyliner route and offers a lot of desirable dining options, breakfast options, family experiences, and rooms ranging from studios to 3-bedroom villas. Rooms here range from $476 per night to $5,479 per night.
But staying on property may not be for you, and it's definitely not the only option.
That's right. I've gotten so many deals through third-party sites. I will say it used to be easier to figure out deals. Disney used to have something called the Magical Express, which provided transportation from the airport to your hotel for free. Since no other nearby hotels offered that, it was easy to filter third-party sites to include airport transportation, and you were guaranteed a Disney resort. This is no longer an option, so you are never really certain what you are getting through a third-party site anymore. However, I have had really positive experiences booking off property whenever I was on a budget.
There are some really good neighbor Disney hotels that offer a lot of benefits, but they aren't officially Disney hotels. For example, the Swan and Dolphin appears to be on property and offers boat transportation to and from Epcot and Hollywood Studios, and Epcot is within walking distance, and you know how I feel about Epcot. Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom have traditional bus transportations from this location. There are lots of pros and cons to good neighbor hotels, but if you're on a budget, outside hotels work just fine. Our timeshare is the Blue Tree Resort, and it offers free shuttles to the parks every morning. And you would just have to take the bus to the park you're headed to that day if it's not listed at the time you want. It is within walking distance to Disney Springs, but heads up, it used to be a straight shot. Now with the expansion of hotels and Disney Springs itself, the walk is a lot longer than it used to be. So now we take the shuttle or walk over when we don't have any pressing rides or meals scheduled.
When I'm traveling alone, I usually look up Hotwire or Priceline pricing for hotels in the Bonnet Creek or Disney Springs area. To get the best value, I choose hotels that offer free breakfast, since no Disney hotels offer that. That is one less meal I have to pay for. Conversely, if you're wanting to try to get a Disney hotel through a Hotwire or Priceline deal, you would want to pick one that does not include free breakfast. If I'm renting or driving a car, I also narrow deals by free parking. Keeping in mind that all Disney transportation is free regardless if you're staying at the hotel or not, I try to choose a hotel that is a small distance from an official Disney hotel. That way, I can Uber or Lyft from my reserved hotel to the nearest Disney property as cheaply as possible and take their transportation to the parks. It does require an extra step, but in terms of time and money, it's a lot cheaper and a lot less time than you think. Off-property hotels often charge an additional fee per night, so keep an eye out for those fees, as it will end up raising your total cost at the end. Disney hotels do not have an additional resort fee, so if your Hotwire Priceline hotel says no resort fee and no free breakfast, chances are you might be getting an official Disney hotel for a great deal.
It's important to consider the number of adults in your party and what's most worth it to you and this experience you're looking for. Remember, you can access restaurants and some amenities of on-property resorts regardless if you're staying on property.
We hope you found this information helpful and that you will follow along with us on all our socials, Instagram, YouTube, and your favorite podcast provider at wonderdreamwander.
We appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a comment, or a suggestion.
If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for us at the pod, you can email us at wonderdreamwander@gmail.com.
Don't forget to sprinkle a little pixie dust on your day, and remember, the magic is just a podcast away.
Until next time, keep wondering, dreaming, and wandering.